You're listening to the RE Social Podcast with your hosts, Andrew and Vince from AnVi Invest. For more information, go to anviinvest.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to the RE Social Podcast. Today, we have the one, the only, my boo, Clayton Lemons. What's up, bro?
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me, man. This is fun.
I know, dude. I'm excited to talk to you about a bunch of stuff. So let's start with all of your ex-girlfriends.
Oh no, dude.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so coming onto this podcast, I think for me, my goal is to not get arrested, not get fired, and not have my mom disappointed.
What about your wife?
Her too. Yeah, that'll also be important.
Yeah. Congrats on your dad, dude.
Thank you, man. Yeah, very excited for a baby girl.
So for people who don't know who you are or people who haven't worked with you, who are you?
Yeah. I work with Vince. We work at the same engineering company. So I'm just a medical device engineer. I'm a husband and soon to be father.
Nice, man. That sounds cool. You're doing way better than me, for sure.
No, definitely not. Not compared with not when we look at this podcast studio. This thing's sweet, man.
This is just for you.
Yeah, you put up this whole production.
I know, dude.
Just so we can. Everyone before this was just a trial run.
This is all like just graphics. We are inside Minecraft right now.
Yeah, just AI generated background.
AI generated. So the reason I got you on the podcast, man, because we're have you heard of echo chambers? So it's like I'm in
them all the time.
I know, dude. I'm in the same thing, but I'm in a different echo chamber because I'm in real estate.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just want to get a different idea of like what other things are out there. So I want the listeners to know about crypto and stuff like that. So what is Bitcoin? What is it?
Man, you went straight for it. Dude, that's such like a...
I don't even know. That's not a deep question. I don't even know what it is.
It is, though. It is deep. It has so many layers to it. I think maybe it would help if I kind of just started out with like a story of how I got into it.
Yeah.
Like what got me
do
down this rabbit hole. Maybe if we could start there. So for me, like if I was to even go back as far as like when I was a kid.
Okay.
Right? Like my nature.
I like it already.
Yeah, dude, we're going way back.
Yeah, I'm in.
Like my nature, like as a person, is just to like save. Like I just wanted to be able to like save things. Like when I was a little kid, you get gifts for your birthday, you get gifts for Christmas, you get gift cards, that type of thing, right? I would hoard them. I would be like, I want to just like stockpile all of this. So my first like real.
Were you rich growing up?
I mean, I had a single mom growing up.
Okay.
And she was a champion, She was like paid for like my education growing up. Went to a private school. She paid for all of that just as a single mom income.
Yeah.
We had a house that she owned. I mean, she crushed it, honestly.
Yeah.
She's still working to this day. I mean, she's kind of probably just like working off basically all that effort that she had to put into me, all that investment that she had to put into me. So I definitely have to I have to return that favor,
Yeah, for sure.
So my first real like experiences with money, like an example of like, I remember I got a gift card for like one of my birthdays or something. It was like the skate shop. It was called Rebel. I thought it was super cool. But I literally held on to that gift card for so long that company went out of business. And I could no longer spend that gift card. So I just had that just gone, right? And then I would try to be able to like save cash. And you're just like a little kid, right? You don't have an IRA, you don't have an interest-bearing account or anything like that. But fast forward to, I have a house and a wife now, but going back to like 2020, you have like serious inflation that happens and prices get super expensive. Your lifestyle completely like gets impacted. And so to me, when that happened, when it was like, all right, money printer turned on, stimulus checks coming out, prices are getting crazy, stocks went super down, stocks went way up. And so I was trying to figure out, because again, it's like my nature, I'm trying to figure out how do I like save my own energy, like I put in all this effort. I put in like all this time for like my education to be able to like become an engineer. I put in all this like learning and like time at my job so that I could be able to get compensated. And so I wanted to be able to like save that through time, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're all really trying to do. It's the same thing that you're trying to do with real estate. Yeah. And so like it's just a really important facet. It's a feature that we want in our money. And I could tell that was getting it was getting diminished.
Devalued.
And so, yeah, so it's just like the money in my account just wasn't buying what it used to.
But how did you come to that realization?
Yeah. So basically I started searching. And so it was, all right.
And then you found Jesus.
Yeah,
Let's
dude.
do it.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
And so I started searching. I tried everything, dude. I was like, all right, I'll go ahead and get like a stock account, and I'll try and be able to look at bonds and just get like something that's really low risk, or what I thought would be just really low risk. But that really wasn't doing anything. And then I was like, all right, I'll try trading stocks, but then that's just like a full-time job, dude. You have to look at all the different companies, what their earnings are, try it, and then that's not even worth it. I'm not trying to trade. I'm trying to just have something that I can like invest my energy into and then just leave it there forever. Just that's it. And so one of the other things that turned me off on stocks was, do you remember GameStop?
Hell
And
yeah.
like that whole fiasco that came out with like naked shorts and all that. One of my
Mhm.
friends was super into it. And
Roaring Kitty.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
He wasn't my friend, but that would have been hilarious. But basically, like watching how that entire thing went down, like, you know, Robinhood just like turns off the buy button, that entire thing collapses based off of who their, you know, venture capital investors were, who was backing them,
Mhm.
and then they didn't want to go under because they're losing a bunch of money as this thing goes up.
This was
'cause
like
they're on the
2020,
short-
right? Was it?
It is, yeah. So like all these things are happening around the same time. And so, I mean, that's a really like kind of eye-opening moment in and of itself, because you got a bunch of like Redditors that are trying to be able to like essentially like put buying power into the stock to see if they can take down these larger hedge funds, that type of thing. And then to see that get essentially rug pulled, where they get the buy button turned off on them, and then that entire thing collapses. And it's not really, I don't know what it's at right now. I can't even speak to it. I don't follow it that much. But that was something else that kind of turned me off toward the stock market overall. And then around this same time, right, you also have Bitcoin kind of riding up. And it's just one of those things that I saw out of the corner of my eye. And I could remember like a time back in like, I think it was like 2017, like one of the other last peaks that it had.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine, we were at Irvine Spectrum. He like whips out his phone. It was like one of my first times ever seeing Robinhood. And he was like, I'm trading crypto, right? I'm buying Bitcoin. And in my mind, I'm like, this guy's just straight up gambling with his money on his phone right now.
This was
crazy.
2017?
Yeah, I think so. But it was like doing really well at that time. And then it like crashes. And it's one of those things where you're like, all right, I feel like I was right, because I thought it was a bubble.
Sure.
It pops, it goes down, that type of thing. But then again, 2020 happens, money printing, stimulus checks, GameStop, COVID, all those things. And then Bitcoin starts going up again. And I'm like, in my mind, I was like, I already thought this thing was dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had seen a friend gamble on this before and it died. Why is it back? I remember going on a walk and I was like, I looked at my phone. I'm like, this thing, I got like a, I don't know, news notification or something. It's like past 30,000. I'm like, God, what is this thing? You know, I wanted to know what it was, because I was so wrong about it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know, like, what am I clearly missing on this, that someone is valuing this thing that I thought was completely worthless, and it's like several $1,000s now. And I was trying to figure that out, and it basically just took me down this entire rabbit hole of like trying to figure out like what is money and like the properties of money, and trying to figure out how I can save my energy through time. And that vehicle has just ended up being Bitcoin for me.
Okay.
So
So we talked about that, your relationship with Bitcoin at that up to this point, but most people who are listening don't even know what it is. They just see it on the news, right?
Yeah.
So what is it? Is it some guy who just made some software online and he's selling it?
Basically. No, he's not selling it. It's more like, yeah. So it's a pseudo-anonymous guy. I mean, he has a pseudonym, like Satoshi Nakamoto. He made some open source software. He pitched it to his friends on an email list and was like, hey, I think I made something cool. And then he opened it up to the world, and people have started playing with it, and it's grown into the monster that it is today. But really, like the cool breakthrough with it was really how it links the digital world to the physical world.
Is that code, I have a question on that. Is that code already set in stone? Nobody can change it? What is that? You said it's open source.
Yeah, it is open source. So anyone can change it, right? So like you can go to like essentially like the Bitcoin core code, and
Mhm.
you can go in and make your own derivative version of it. And that's how all the altcoins essentially were born, right?
But
And
it
so
won't
like,
change the Bitcoin itself.
so what you have to do is everyone that runs their own, they're called nodes,
Yeah, I've
essentially
heard of
has
those.
their own version of the Bitcoin software that they're running on their own computer.
Okay.
And so they run their own version of that software. And basically, what they're trying to do is be in consensus with the networks, that the networks and always in agreement. So someone else that comes in, they can take that code, they can change it to whatever degree that they want, right? But they're not going to be able to change the code that I'm running on my node on my computer at home, right? So they can't change the rules of the game for me. Like someone else can make up a rule in their own chess game that they're playing with their friend, but that's not going to change the rules of the game of chess. But the real like the real interesting thing about Bitcoin is like how it really made that link between the digital world and the physical world, and it did that by essentially using compute to consume energy, right? So you in order to be able to actually like get Bitcoin, they call it mining Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to expend some real world energy
Yeah.
to be able to be awarded Bitcoin, to be able to physically mine it.
Mm-hmm.
They use that analogy, right? To be able to mimic gold. It's like mining gold. It takes physical energy. You have to
Sure.
be able to have all this capital equipment to be able to get drills, to be able to get into a mine, so that it takes a lot of effort to be able to like get that ore out of the
Where
ground.
is it? Where are they mining it from? Is it in the Nakamoshi's hard drive?
No, so like the purpose of it is to be able
Because
to
he's made like
have
a tough puzzle, and you need a lot of computers to break that puzzle, and then the reward is a Bitcoin, right? Something like that.
yeah. So it's a lot of people use like a tough math problem analogy.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of it's a little bit different because it's more of like guessing a number.
Oh, okay.
And so essentially like um, the way that it works is you just have computers that are randomly guessing a number.
Mm-hmm.
And if they guess right, they win the block. And that block has a certain amount of Bitcoin, and then that's their winnings, right?
Yeah.
Now, that number can be like huge or it can be a little bit smaller depending on how much energy has been put into the network.
Okay.
The entire point of this, so like I want to like try and explain it as simply as I can and not get too much into the details. There's people that can speak to it way better than I can,
Sure.
because the real point of all of this is to be able to control the supply. The entire thing is that it's only 21 million. That's the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the end state of it, where it's like in the year 2100 something will be like the last Bitcoin that's mined. But the whole point is to be able to have a predictable inflation rate to be able to get to 21 million. So the 21 million is the end state. That's not where we're at today. Like the amount of Bitcoin that's been mined today, I think it's close to like 20 million. It's like the majority of it, but we haven't mined the last coin yet. There's still more to come. All of the coins that exist are just being traded amongst people, right? Now, the point is, when you expend energy to be able to be awarded that coin, as you're familiar with Metcalfe's law, right? Where it's like,
No.
it's essentially just trying to talk about like the exponential nature of compute and how you have like I forget what the doubling is, but anyway, it essentially is talking about like as technology is progressing and we're getting like it's an exponential type of thing, right?
Oh, it's like the Moore's law for like the
Yeah, I'm butchering it for sure, but
for the like they say like the transistors double every like
yes,
7 years or
that one.
something.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
I think
That's
it's
what I was
Moore's law.
referring.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, I think I was
Yeah.
referencing the wrong thing. That's what I was referring to.
Okay. Cool.
And so, as we get more efficient at being able to expend energy, and as technology is more exponential, and we can be able to harness energy from more and more sources, right? We're putting more of that energy into that network. And so, what you don't want to have happen is all of a sudden you hyperinflate to that 21 million. You want to be able to control the amount of supply over time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to be able to control that supply over
Mm-hmm.
time, they essentially just say, as like energy increases, we're going to make it a lot harder. We're going to make that number that you're guessing, we're going to add a couple more units on the end to make it harder and harder and harder for you to guess.
Okay.
So guess a number between 1 and 10, easier for you to get. Guess a number between 1 and 100, a little bit tough. Guess a number between 1 and a trillion, now it gets real tough. And that's directly correlated with the amount of energy that's expended into that network.
Yeah.
But the entire point is that the link between the energy that's expended and the token that you're awarded, that's what gives it that value, is because you expended real world resources to be able to get that token. It's not just an imaginary file on your computer. That's where the value is derived from.
Okay. So there's still about 1 million coins to be mined, and then
Yeah.
most of them are already mined. And so, okay, so that's what the Bitcoin is. And how does this bring value to the world that is actually worth like $85,000 a coin?
Sure. Yeah. So if you talk about value proposition of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
so the one that I'm talking about was for me is the savings technology side, right? So I have some expectation that there's a finite amount of Bitcoin. It's a scarce resource, and that the amount of dollars is ever increasing. And so I'm just looking at the proportion of those things. Dollars are always increasing, and then there's a finite amount of Bitcoin. And so for me, I'm trying to use it as a savings technology to preserve my energy over time. That's one use case. Another killer use case of it is its censorship resistance, right? So for someone like you, you're a outspoken individual.
What?
You can be radical at times. You got crazy opinions.
Yeah.
And so you want to avoid being canceled. And especially it would really suck if your bank was the one that canceled you.
Sure.
Now your credit cards don't work, you can't pay your bills, you have a business, you have employees, you have people that depend on you. That would really blow. And so a benefit of being able to hold your own, they're called private keys, but it's the keys to your Bitcoin, the keys to the value that you've saved. The benefit of that is no one can take it away from you because it's a secret that you hold. You can hold it in your mind. You can store it securely. There's ways to do that. But the idea is that you're sovereign over your own wealth, and that you don't have to act like every time you make a withdrawal from the bank, you're like, bank, pretty please, I would like permission to be able to take the money that I have graciously given you, and I would like some of that back so that I can go get a haircut or whatever you want to do, right? So it's a very permissions-based system. So that's another kind of killer feature, right? And it's the permissionless nature of it is, it's important to think about also for, people that are outside of America. Like a lot of times, a lot of our focus is just thinking within this country, but there's a lot of people that are struggling with hyperinflation in their respective countries. And so today for us, we really we benefit from the stability of the dollar, right? Like, that's really why we are one of the best nations, is because of like the strength of our currency that we have. And we exert that power, that monetary influence over other countries as well. But
Liberation Day.
yeah, there you go. But there's other countries that have citizens that are really struggling with the monetary policy that's imposed on them. So you have Lebanon's one of them that's gone through hyperinflation. Brazil has
Venezuela.
It pretty bad. Venezuela, Zimbabwe. Like, these are countries that are, they technically have an abundance of their currency. It's like out in the streets, there's money everywhere, but they're not the richest country. They still have scarcity of resources that they have to contend with, even with that abundance. And it seems to me that there's this correlation with, as you have a more and more abundance in your currency, that you have more and more scarcity of your resources, and everyone becomes trying to be able to steal everything off of the shelves of your local Ralph's, Albertsons, and your grocery stores, because that's really where you're starting to preserve your value, because no longer can you hold your money to be able to preserve that energy. And so Like money is something that we use. Like money is a technology. That's how I think about it. And that's how I've had others explain it to me as well. It's a technology that is this vehicle to be able to save our energy, right? So like when we were a caveman, we would maybe just rely on our reputation, or we would rely on barter and be like, you need some food, I need some hide, I need some bananas, you have some apples. We would make those types of trades, but it's hard to scale up a civilization like that.
Yeah.
And so like over time, we ended up like relying on gold. And then gold was like this massive breakthrough in a monetary technology compared to all of these other things, because it was actually like really hard to be able to mine out of the ground. So you couldn't really have hyperinflation of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it ultimately just became the most powerful money, and it drove out all the other bad monies. Like if you had like, if you did an experiment and you had 2 islands and you put 2 tribes on each of those islands, one island's using a banana as their currency, the other one's using gold. The gold one's going to be able to scale up a lot better. That society is going to be able to grow.
Yeah, what do you have against bananas?
They're eventually going to go and take over the banana island
Mm-hmm.
and conquer those people. And so money is really a technology, but one of the limitations of gold is that as we scaled to be able to be like a global economy, it just became hard to settle, like it's this physical heavy brick, and it's hard for sovereigns and banks to be able to settle that. They have to ship it. There's security issues. It's heavy. And so we abstracted that away, and we created the dollar, this promise, this note that was intended to be like an abstract representation of gold, so that we could transport it a lot easier. A dollar is a lot lighter than a bar of gold. And now we're just at a point where that connection's been broke entirely. I mean, it was very deliberately broken with like the Nixon shock. President Nixon broke that. Yeah. Yeah, temporarily, right? And then now we're just at a stage where you can press a button on a computer and you can print trillions of dollars. And that just has a material impact on everyone's lives. And so I think this open source system that nobody else owns, that has a material link to real world resources, energy, is a check and balance on that power.
Yeah. So I want to go along that path and say, okay, so I do agree with you. As a store of value, it is very interesting, right? It is definitely, okay, I have another question. Is this the only cryptocurrency that's not inflatable?
Yeah, I think so. I think
So
it's the only
everything else they can just
representation.
print? Ethereum, you can just print?
Yeah, absolutely. And they've shown that. So like Ethereum, if you actually look at Ethereum's like monetary policy, like they've made all of these changes on their protocol because they still have like a centralized authority. It's like Vitalik Buterin and the Ethereum Foundation that's responsible for stewarding that protocol. And so they make decisions and can change how many tokens exist or not. In fact, like before they even started,
They can burn too?
they can burn too. In fact, that's something that they're doing now. Yeah.
Okay, so
They
that
can
does
burn too.
increase the value too, right?
I would argue that their ability to be able to manipulate that token diminishes its value, in my opinion.
And it seems to track with Bitcoin price though, somewhat.
It does, because I think a lot of people like just make an association. So like when I first started, right? Like I didn't start just Bitcoin either. Like I was curious about these things, right? I wanted to know. I was like, well, what about Ethereum? That sounds cool. And I even checked out their websites. I was like, all right, let me look at the Bitcoin website. There is no like real Bitcoin websites. There's just people that have made websites that explain Bitcoin. But there is no, again, like central entity that represents it in its entirety. And so I looked at whatever website it was. I don't even remember, but I was like, man, this website sucks. I went to the Ethereum one. That thing was hella nice. And then great marketing by a lot of crypto tokens. And you look at like the justifications that they have. They're like, this is basically Bitcoin 2.0. Like Bitcoin tried. it's not doing what it should. We think it should do more. And so this is Bitcoin 2.0. And so they just have a lot of marketing that's like associated with it. And then there's like other tokens that come out. Cardano, they say that they're Bitcoin 3.0. They're the next evolution of Ethereum. Ethereum's capped out. And so it just becomes like a narrative that people who take the open source software, tweak it a little bit to make their own type of token, right? And then try to be able to sell it off as a new money. Because what is the greatest power if not being able to print money, right?
Yeah.
Have you thought about investing in real estate and taking advantage of all of those benefits without any of the work? That is something that AnVi Invest not only provides, but has been providing since its inception. With friends and family, we have built an empire and a system of a wealth generating tool that is giving us and our friends and family that leverage in their life to create true wealth. Go to onviinvest.com for more to see if you qualify. And thanks for listening.
All right. So you were saying about the benefits, right?
Yeah. So I think your question was like something along the lines of, with housing, you get all these incredible tax benefits. You have this asset that you can rent out to people. And you're talking about the business that you have here and writing off our dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. Those are incredible benefits. And I mean, even to go further, to go against myself, even if you want to get the gains that you get from Bitcoin, to sell them, you're going to be subject to capital gains, right? There's not a lot of loan products that exist for Bitcoin currently. That's kind of just a fact. I think
I think you could borrow against it.
You
right?
can, absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely places where you can. I wouldn't say that it's like, I'm sure there's people that do it
I
often.
think it's like 50% LTV, loan to value. So if you have $1 million, you can borrow like $500,000.
That sounds right. I haven't looked at it that much, to be honest. It's not something that I've looked to do.
Okay.
I think you're right that housing is an incredible vehicle for being able to preserve wealth over time. And I think particularly what you're doing, when I look at like the service that you provide to people, right? So when I look at RE Social, when I look at your company being able to procure all of these properties, you're also trying to do the exact same thing that I'm trying to do. You're trying to preserve your own energy over time.
Yeah.
And store that wealth in an appreciating asset to be able to combat the inflation that would otherwise steal it from you if it was just sitting in a bank account. But like a service that you provide is, you have individuals that may not have enough saved up to be able to buy a property of their own, or maybe they don't have the credit score to be able to do it. And so you make it more accessible to people. That's like a service that you provide, right? So like a lot, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're trying to use housing as a savings technology, as what I would hope money would normally be. But one of the challenges with houses as a savings technology is that it's not accessible to everyone. And so that's a service that you provide by bringing that bar, making that an easier hurdle for people to be able to jump over, so that your friends can come in and they can be like, Vince, I don't have 20%, but I got 5, I got 10. Can I give that to you? And then you can do the property management. And then when you have a favorable refi, maybe I can get some of that back. And then I can still have equity inside of this property. Like, it's an incredible service, really, that you provide. But I think when I think about Bitcoin in particular and how it competes with that, in terms of its accessibility, the barrier to entry is like, to be able to get some is very low. Like, you don't need a lot. You can buy Bitcoin for you can buy $1 worth of Bitcoin. You can buy a penny's worth of Bitcoin. There's services that allow you to be able to do that. And so you don't need to have lump sums of cash, which is challenging for a lot of people, to be able to get into an asset that has a track record of, radical appreciation since its inception 15 years ago or so, right? And so the openness of that protocol and availability is one of the core benefits, I would say. Another is like not everyone has again, like part of the benefits, like it's hard to explain a lot of the benefits of Bitcoin to people that benefit from what is currently the best money on earth, like the dollar, right? But there are other countries that it may be a little bit more intuitive to them, like what the benefits are, because their governments have like damned their own currency and burned it all to the ground, right? And so people like the countries we were talking about, Lebanon, Zimbabwe, all of those countries that don't have access to like the US capital markets, or maybe they're in zones where they don't have enough money to be able to buy property. They don't have enough, or they're not even in a place where there is desirable real estate. Those are really the people that kind of benefit from this, more so than like the middle class in the US. I think people still can, but those are the people that are going to help out the most. And so part of it is a little bit mission driven, but if we're talking about it strictly from a financial standpoint, the benefits of Bitcoin versus real estate, there's also the liquidity side of it as well, right? So like if you're in a pinch and you need money, Bitcoin trades 24/7. So you have the luxury of that. It's hard to be able to extract money from a property without doing a refi, a HELOC, or selling it. Those all kind of take time. They take contracts. There's people in between.
Yeah.
And so those are the points, I guess, that I would highlight as core differences.
Yeah, it still makes sense as a store of value. Like, how can someone make money using Bitcoin? Is that a thing? It seems like it's not. It's like you just use it, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
You can't make money off Bitcoin. Are they still giving those, what is it, some kind of dividends or something they were giving, right?
No, it's like, I mean, you can put your Bitcoin into a service where you loan it out and get a yield on it. But you have to understand what the risks associated with that yield are, because
They could just take it.
yeah, or they could go out of business, or they could rehypothecate it, or they could be irresponsible with your money, right? And so like the premium that you get for putting your money at risk, that's your expected return. That's the interest rate you're expected to bear. Whereas today, you're leveraging real estate to be able to get like passive income as well, right? I think Bitcoin is a little bit is more like a money savings instrument than it is like this
Building wealth kind of instrument, right?
yield generating instrument. I would maybe
Yeah.
say it's not necessarily a yield generating instrument. The yield is more, or the benefits, the value appreciation is really just more from the gains that you make that as you hold it over time.
Yeah. So you've held on to Bitcoin since 2020, right? But when
4 years. I got into it like late 2020. I probably first bought like a little bit in like early 2021.
Okay, so that's when you started buying,
I
2021.
think so, yeah.
So, around the same time is when I started getting very aggressive with real estate, right? So when I see that, we work for the same company, let's say we make $100,000 each, right? And it seems very difficult to use that as a path to actually build anything. It just doesn't seem like it's possible, because I was looking at it too. I was buying Bitcoin for fun. But it's like, okay, I have 20 grand. I can buy 20 grand of Bitcoin, and then that's it. Like, there's no leverage aspect of it. That's another thing that real estate brings, right? So, I mean, do you recommend that for people who are listening, like, buy and hold some? I mean, I guess it is, if you're going to hold it for a long term, let's say 5 years minimum,
I think 5 to 10, yeah.
it's better than holding on to cash, right?
Yes.
But who's holding on to cash for 5-10 years? You would have to be a moron.
I think you have to look at the complete. Maybe we can go through like the list of asset classes that are available to people, and then the risks associated with them, and then the returns with respect to those risks, right? So like,
I mean, there's only four, right? Like, you got stocks, bonds, real estate, and gold, and then digital assets.
yeah. So
Right.
let's go
5.
through those. So bonds, right? So we'll talk just there's sovereign and corporate, so we can go with the U.S. bond, or you can go with a corporate bond.
Let's go U.S. bond.
So a U.S. bond,
No risk.
Yeah, the risk is like basically zero.
Yeah.
The risk with any other country, you're worried about them defaulting, but the other side of that risk is also the inflation risk. And so
Yes.
is the return that you're getting on that bond greater than the inflation rate that you would otherwise see? Because otherwise it's just like a wash or negative, right?
It's usually a wash. Let's be realistic, right?
I would differ in my opinion.
Oh,
on
you would
that,
say what, negative?
because maybe this would be a good opportunity to talk about inflation. So
Okay.
how do you view inflation? How do you calculate it in your life? What percentage would you attribute it to? What's your thinking on inflation? How do you look at it?
I mean, that's a long conversation,
know,
right?
it does get
But
long.
for people who are listening, simple stuff, take CPI times it by 2. That's what inflation is for me.
Oh, why do you, it's like 2, an arbitrary number, or is that, how did you write with that?
Because I use the other website, they track like more real inflation. I forget the name.
Trueflation?
Trueflation, there's one more.
I remember that one,
That
yeah.
that one, where that's technically, it's like when they were saying it was like 9%, it was like more like 16%.
Yeah.
And then I'm in real estate, and I can see the housing prices in Orange County
Yeah, exactly.
hasn't gone up by 2% a year, right?
Yeah,
So
perfect.
that's inflation. So I mean, those are the kind of things. And when I go to grocery stores and stuff, I see with the CPI, they adjust the numbers to something cheaper,
Yes.
change it out. Things
CPI
like that.
is a scam.
CPI is a scam.
I'm glad that we both agree on that. I would echo that 100%, that CPI is definitely a scam. I mean, if you're the country that's printing the currency, you kind of want it to be able to show that it's as low as possible. They do things like hedonic adjustments where they try to make it seem like, all right, well, this super nice the state of the art laptop that you have right now, instead of using that, we're going to use, this bummer laptop and say that, all right, these are at parity, and that the inflation
Yeah,
on
they
this
swap
bummer
it out, yeah,
laptop
for
hasn't
sure.
gone up that much. And so they try to be very selective on what they put in that basket. And I mean, it's a challenging job. You're trying to give people a singular number as a generalization for an entire population. It's a tough job, I'll give them that. But one of the things that kind of awakened my perspective on this was a podcast that I was listening to a long time ago described it as looking at inflation as your own personal experience, the way that you just kind of articulated it. You were saying that you were looking at the assets that you wanted to buy. You were looking at the groceries that were at your actual store for the things that you would actually purchase. And you were saying this isn't matching up with CPI. I would encourage everyone to go through that same exercise that you did and try and find out what that number really is, because that's the hurdle rate that they have to get over. That's how much their money is just evaporating in their bank account. And so when you look at what do I want my life to be next year, next 5 years, next 10, for me, right, at the start of this podcast, we talked about how I'm going to be a new father. So there's going to be the cost of childcare. I got diapers that I got to buy. I got food that I got to buy for another mouth. And then, like, do I want to be able to afford a bigger home? What is the cost of that home going to be? How much of all of those individual things been respectively appreciating? That's going to be really significant. And that's going to be a very different result from like friends that you or I have that are just like bums that live with their mom that just watch Netflix and play video games and that type of stuff. Their inflation rate is going to be totally different.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, what is the cost of the Netflix subscription? How much has that gone up?
It's gone up by $2. It's a big complaint.
Yeah. And then, what's the cost of the takeout pizza that I get, that type of thing. So I would say that when you compare those different lifestyles, it's going to be very different inflation rates. So you should look at your own, get that value and say, all right, I have to beat this. And I'm pretty sure the audience that listens to your type of podcasts are going to be people that are aspiring to be able to like have a better life and attain more. They're not going to be the ones that are bumming off their parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have bums. You have a lot of productive people that are going to be listening to you. And so I don't think bonds are a great asset for them. I think they're going to lose money. So then you go to stocks. Stocks have an incredible amount of risk, right? There's a lot of like execution risk for the company.
But
There's
okay,
like,
before we move on from bonds,
yeah,
it's still better than holding on to cash.
absolutely. So all
Okay.
of these things are
Cash is
progression
the
systems.
worst.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Long
Cash-
term.
Yeah. I totally agree with you.
Okay.
Then you got stocks thereafter, and you can try to be as conservative as you want with that. You can just be like, I'm going all in on NVIDIA, and then just like have a singular stock versus diversifying. And then, or you can just buy all of FANG, or you can just buy the S&P and ride it out. And so what are the risks associated with that? Well, it seems like S&P has been doing pretty well over a longer stretch of time. And so your risks are pretty reduced from a basket of 500. So you're a little bit more insulated from that. But for me, when I looked at that and still kind of compared it to my own personal inflation, I felt like it was a wash. Like I still didn't really feel like I was gaining that much, just because the expenses of everything around me were going up like so
it stocks?
quickly. Yeah, just for
Okay.
stocks, just like S&P 500, right? And so, but if you want to go beyond that and just choose like a singular stock, now it's just like, all right, I'm going to put everything in Tesla. And then what are the risks associated with Tesla? It could just be the volatility of the CEO going on his own platform and tweeting something crazy, you know, and then like that stock, it gets influenced by all of those things, or he gets attacked politically. Like those are all risks associated with that particular financial instrument that you have to be aware of. And so then you're going to graduate from that. Well, what about housing? Housing has its own particular risks. So like I just recently had a pipe leak. I had a slab leak that I had to deal with. And so like that's a risk that you have as like a homeowner, is that you have all these things that can go wrong on your property. It can burn down, it can be hit by a tornado. You can have a leak, flood, all of these things. You've experienced probably like all of them with the amount of time that you've been in, the amount of houses that you've had. I'm sure you've had like terrible renters that haven't paid. I know you've talked to me about squatters. Like these are all risks of that financial instrument. And so when you look at your returns, you're looking at it within a risk adjusted basis, and you've still come out very favorably, which is why still real estate is like the premier asset of like the United States, right? And it's like I really don't think that the government can really like let housing prices fall to such a degree, because everyone's wealth is trying to be stored inside of that financial asset. And so I think that they're going to lean into promoting and supporting that for sure, without a doubt. But I say all of that to eventually land on Bitcoin and the risks associated with that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has like crazy volatility. We've seen it all crash, but it's not something that can burn down, be subjected to a flood. It's not something that has a CEO that can go on Twitter and say something crazy. It's something that is open and transparent. You can see when the next block, the next Bitcoin is going to be mined. It has a predictable supply increase, so it's not going to be defaulted on by a sovereign or hyperinflated. And so when I look at that compared to its gains and its risk-adjusted basis, that's kind of where I landed.
Mm-hmm. So you think longer term, Bitcoin will beat out the dollar, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
Very interesting. Also, why are girls not interested in crypto? What's up with that? Does Jules know anything about Bitcoin? Does she care?
She just knows from me just like blabbering on all the time.
She doesn't care, right?
Not really. I mean,
no girl cares. Why? Why is that? Is okay. Here's the big headline. Is crypto the astrology for men?
Ooh. Are we all just trying to read
Yeah, I know,
something
dude.
in the tea leaves?
But you would probably say all the other coins, all the altcoins, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely true. Honestly, I wish it's tough to care about all this stuff. Honestly, I think it's not even just to like hang up on girls thinking about it, but just everyone in general. Like, people have their own full-time jobs, they have their own families, they have their own passions and the careers that they want to be able to aspire to. And so it's really tough to be like focused on your own individual passions and the energy that you want to expend on your family, and then also at the same time try to put energy into being a financial planner, a stock trader, crypto asset manager, all of those things. I think it's a lot of cognitive load to just be carrying that around all the time, and it's an unfortunate reality that when money breaks like this, that people kind of have to become their own like financial advisors and try to be able to take on this like entirely separate full-time job so that they can carry their energy into the future. And I think that's where it's hard for a lot of people, is it just takes a lot of energy to be able to like learn about real estate, learn about stocks, learn about
I
digital
guess
assets,
whatever your
anything like
passion
that.
is, and then you just go with that,
Yeah.
right? But are you trying to get something out of Bitcoin? From the story you were talking about earlier, it felt like you were just trying to preserve your time
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like trying to translate that into making it work for you. But how would you say that even is true for Bitcoin, right? Like, how would you say I'm trying to make my business work for me and not work in the business? Whatever, the crap people say, working for time and
yeah,
and not working for time. So that doesn't really help, right? It's just a store of value. You work 10 hours at our company,
yeah,
and then you put it into Bitcoin, and over 10 years, that's worth maybe more hours,
yes,
something like that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's what you think. But in that time frame of 10 years, it doesn't really get you anything unless you figure out a way to leverage it and do something with it, right? See, okay, here's my point, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you have 5 Bitcoins, right?
Mhm. I wish
And
that'd be sweet.
that'll be pretty sick. Dude. I'll be like, damn, dude, you're winning for sure. If you had 5 Bitcoins, and you go to a broker at the bank, Chase says, you know what, dude, you have 5? All right, I can write you a check for 2.5 Bitcoins right now for 3%.
Hmm.
You're winning hard. That's winning for me, because I can take that and go and buy stocks or buy a house, right? But if you cannot, this is garbage to me at this point. Like, because what is this? It's just sitting in a wallet, cold wallet. You're just walking around with it, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree, and why?
So I agree that in the time that I have held Bitcoin, which I just passed 4 years, so I've gone through a full
Cycle.
4-year cycle, as they call it. I am not a billionaire.
No,
No.
podcast over.
I still have my full-time job that
But
I
you're
go
up
to.
though, right?
I am up, yes.
What percent would you say?
Not like a crazy percent for sure.
Double digit at least per year, or no?
I mean, double digit per year, probably, yes. But
So you're probably up like 40%.
yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But for me, it is absolutely a sacrifice of the now for the future. I'm definitely it's a long-term game, dude. It's a low time preference is what they call it. And so I'm making a projection that in another 5 years, in a total 10 years, in 20 years, that this is going to have a material impact on me and my family, right? So that I can be able to pass this down to eventually my daughter, right? And that
A bit babe.
That's right. So that she'll eventually be able to have a strong foundation for her to carry out her life and her family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
But what if she just sells it and buys a horse?
see this
It's done. You just wasted your whole life now
exactly
on that Bitcoin?
That's why I have to condition my daughter from day one and brainwash her right from the start.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's you're right. It's not a productive capital asset that's going to be able to get you yield without you putting risk into it. It does have an impressive annual growth rate just based
It
off
does
of
have
its
that.
own
Over a
compounded annual
5-year
growth
period,
rate.
for sure, winning hard.
So it's not like you're not getting anything, you
Yeah.
know?
But you have to sell it to get anything from it. That's what I don't, unless you know something else.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So then it's gone.
That portion of it is gone. You're absolutely right.
But
So,
I guess you could have 10 and you just sold one, right?
there's another law, and I forget the name of it, but it's essentially the law that good money drives out bad. And so if you have bananas and seashells, silver, copper, and gold, and someone wants to make a trade with you, you're going to try and trade off all of the worst ones first before you give up the thing that's precious. And further, there are a lot of great debt vehicles that, with the dollar, that you can be able to use. And so, like you've done with your housing financial assets, like, it was pretty incredible that you can get a 30-year loan on a house at 3% interest rate for a period during that COVID time. Like, think about that for a minute. That's incredible. Like, being able to put money, like, imagine being on the other side of that trade.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine trying to be able to give someone $1 million to buy a house, and you only expect a 3% return every year for 30 years. That's an insane trade, I feel like, to make on the other side of it. But
Well, you know
a
why
lot
they
of people
make
were
that
able to
trade?
take that advantage.
How do they make that trade? Let's break it down for people listening.
Let's do it. Yeah, what do you got?
They don't have that money they gave you.
They printed it.
They don't even have to print it.
They can just
They just
create it.
They just create it. They
The
only need
banks
to
just
have
create it. You're
they just
absolutely right.
need to have $1 and they will lend you 10.
You're exactly right. That is.
So they're winning hard. They made 30%, bro.
You're absolutely right. Banks can just create that loan right away. That's brilliant. Right.
And if you don't like the dollars, they will teach you democracy real fast. But we'll show up.
That's right. It is very yes.
Okay,
The
so let's
monetary
do this
prowess is
fun
very
exercise,
influential.
right? What did you say?
The monetary prowess of the dollar is very influential. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
When did you buy a house?
2018.
How much did you buy it for?
My wife would hate me that I would say it. Well, say it was less than $1 million.
Okay, let's just do this.
Yeah,
We keep it simpler.
Yeah.
Let's say it was $100,
Mhm.
right? What is it worth now compared to the $100?
I mean, it's doing well. Let's see.
So like $200?
No, not quite. Not quite.
So let's say
Close.
it's $180.
Yeah.
Right?
close.
Even better. How much did you put down for that $100?
Man.
I just messed you up right now on the podcast.
You did, dude.
So let's say
I
you
mean,
put down
honestly,
$10.
I probably put like I think I put less because I actually had financial assistance to be able to do it. So there was a.
I'll give you the benefit of the thing. $10. You put
Yeah.
$10 and it became $18. Are
Yeah,
you
that's it.
telling me that your Bitcoin is up that much?
No.
There's no chance.
No
right?
chance.
Now, of
Yeah,
course,
it's
you
not.
had to pay mortgage every month, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you would have paid rent,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this already tells me if you bought like 2 more houses, you would be done instead of the Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say for that, for people listening? You know, should they buy the second house or should they diversify and buy Bitcoin? That's the real question.
This is a great question.
Yeah.
I think real estate is absolutely a powerhouse investment.
Sure.
It is.
Because of leverage.
It is the king because of leverage and man,
You heard it
30-year
from
term.
Clayton, guys.
30-year term is pretty wild.
Yeah.
30-year term is definitely wild.
Only we do that, by the way.
I
India
know.
does not have 30-year
I know
terms.
a lot of countries don't, and they really struggle with being able to obtain houses.
Mhm.
But let's think about that from a cultural standpoint and the impact that it has. When you financialize housing, and when you try to use housing as a vehicle for money,
Mhm.
you start to create all of this further like scarcity of like shelters essentially. So now it's like you
Yeah.
have large investment banks that are trying to be able to do the same thing that we're trying to do, save their energies, like save their money, try to be able to get the greatest return for on a risk adjusted basis that they can. They put it in, pile it down into real estate, right? BlackRock will come and undercut, the single mom trying to be able to buy a house. Right?
But yeah, that sounds cool when you say it, but it's less than 3%, or it's less than 1% of the homes.
Is what?
That's how much BlackRock owns single family.
No, I was using BlackRock as an example.
No, but I'm just saying, like,
in
big
general,
corporations, they don't own a lot. They own like let's say Grant Cardone. He owns a 200 unit. When is your single mom ever going to buy a 200 unit? Never, right? So that doesn't make any sense, right?
But a lot of where I'm really going with this
Yeah.
is when you look at people being able to like provide for themselves, have a shelter, own a roof over their head, would you not agree that it's harder than ever to be able to do that?
It's always hard to do that.
It's been easier in the past, you wouldn't say?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Why?
Well, because
You wouldn't say that, like, back bore the 70s, that a single earner could have a single family home and have the wife stay at home, have whole family, versus now today you got
because
kids
now
that are
you want to
living with
live
their
in
parents.
a $2,500 square feet house by Newport Beach. Like you could do that now. You could go to Kansas and live for $300,000 and make $80K easy, and you can do that now. You just don't want to do it. You want to live next to Leonardo DiCaprio in San Clemente. That's the problem, right? So we like live in Orange County, and we're like, oh, we shouldn't. Like people are like, oh, I should be able to buy. I'm like, no, you shouldn't be able to live next to me. Have you done what I've done in life? I'm 40. I've done so much things, and I deserve to live here. You don't, right? Because you haven't done that much. Not you. I'm just
No,
saying
I
in
understand
general.
what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand. what you're
But
saying.
anybody could totally buy in Inland Empire. My buddy just bought a brand new build in Inland Empire. I think last year it was like $500,000. It's nothing. He and his wife, they both work, but they're not making millions. They make less than you, right? But they bought it. It was last year. It's not hard to do. But then, our friends are like, but I should be able to buy in Newport Beach. Should you? You shouldn't.
Yeah,
You shouldn't be able to buy it,
understand.
right? Does it
I
make sense?
understand where you're going with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly
And also the real quick on the
Yeah, go ahead.
70s part, it is true, it's easier to get, but the house was like 800 square feet. Now it's like 1,600, 1,700 square feet, right? So that's also there. And we've also started doing a lot of more social programs. They were printing more money. We're giving it to different things. That also causes inflation, makes everything harder. So if you want to not do that, then we can't do that. We can't be fighting a bunch of wars and sending money and printing money because it makes everything more expensive. If you want to control those kind of stuff, then you cannot do all of those things,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
No, I get you. I align that it takes hard work to be able to like be successful, have a beautiful home, live in
Yeah.
a nice area, right? And I agree with you that it's unfair to just have that gifted over to someone that didn't necessarily work for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm totally aligned with that. I think the perspective that I have, if I try to look at an entire picture of all the money in the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everywhere that it's been allocated. So let's just say a number that I've heard is like $900 trillion worth of wealth that is stored in cash equivalents, bonds, art, real estate, all these different vehicles, stock market, digital assets, whatever have you, right? And I try to be able to project that into the future of where do I think from today, how is that going to reshuffle in the future? There is definitely going to be more dollars 10, 20 years from now than there are today, more US dollars that are going to be printed to be able to support all the political programs, to be able to support the ever-growing debt, all of those things. Now, as more and more assets get financialized, I think less and less people are going to have opportunity to be able to be a part of that economy, to be able to save their energy in something in a meaningful vehicle. And so that's where I think Bitcoin can be able to provide an alternative to people because the barrier to entry is a significantly lower.
Because you could buy 1 penny of Bitcoin.
Yeah, to be able to then preserve your energy through time as money gets printed into the future.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on money printing? Obviously, you are buying real estate because you have an expectation that it's going to appreciate in value because you're trying to hedge against inflation. Do you have perspectives on how you think the production of money is going to change in the future? Do you think that, did Jerome Powell just crush it, dude, and we're safe? Or do you think that we'll eventually fall victim the same way that the majority of other fiat currencies have fallen? How do you look at that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I spend a lot of time now because, I get bored pretty fast.
Mhm.
So if you start talking about the weather, I will just punch you in the face and leave the room. Like I just can't do it.
Yeah.
It's not interesting for
Not
me.
the small talk type.
It's just, and I can't even play. I was just telling Drew the other day, they play like game nights and stuff. And then I go in, I can't do it. Like if the game is too simple, I
Yeah.
just can't. I just leave. I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Mhm.
But if it's a little bit complicated, I'm like, okay, I'm back in,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So for that, I spend a lot of time on the macroeconomic stuff because it's very interesting for me.
Mhm.
And what I've realized is, I did take a lot of like things that you were doing in the pandemic, you and Kevin, about the crypto stuff. I was looking into it too. And I started going deep dive on the currencies and stuff, right? So every single major currency has already failed. It's a 100% guarantee it is going to fail, right? However, will it fail in your lifetime? That's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to. The worst case
Yeah, let me
scenario,
ask you, why don't you?
because the worst case scenario from all my calculations I've done, US will be number 2. This is the worst case scenario in our lifetime.
Mhm.
Maybe your daughter's lifetime, India might come to 1 or 2, and then China and US might be number 3. For the next 50 years, there is 0% chance US will be number 4. No chance, not even close, right? Okay, so you went from 1 to 2. That's a big deal, going from 1 to 2. But I don't even think that's even possible right now. It's like, who else is there? Like, we will just bomb them. Like, it's like,
Right.
oh, you want to be number 1? Cool. Where are you at? Like, it's done already, right? It's not going to work. Now, we have made some judgment errors, I would say, by weaponizing the dollar a little too crazy,
Mhm.
freezing other countries' sovereign debt and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, so
That's
now if
not
you're
good.
that country,
Yeah,
you
like,
may be less inclined to use that dollar, that vehicle to be able to move wealth,
yeah,
right?
so they've been doing that, and then other countries are watching, and
Yeah.
they're like, wait a minute, so you just did that
You're talking about the SWIFT system.
SWIFT system, and then they're like, okay, well, that's not good. So then
Mhm.
they're looking at things. So the BRICS,
The BRICS,
we
yeah.
had the BRICS. So
Mhm.
for people who don't know, BRICS is like Brazil, Russia, India, China,
Mhm.
and
South
South
Africa, I
Africa,
think,
right?
yeah.
And they're adding more and more countries to it.
Mhm.
Now, here's the fun part: most people forget to realize. India and China are not even close to being friends. We hate each other, and that's the only reason India has nuclear weapons.
Mhm.
You think these two are going to join together, hold hands, and just sing kumbaya and make a currency? There is no chance.
I
It's not
I
going to
agree
happen.
with you that you're not going to be able to align all of those sovereign entities to be able to get into a consensus where they
Mhm.
can make a meaningful impact and like
There's
run
no
on the
way.
dollar.
They're already like fighting. China is fighting with India right now
Totally
on
agree.
Kashmir, right? So that's one. The other thing is, you can go against the US and you can bet against it, and you can play the long game, right? But the penalty for doing that is you're going to get destroyed by the US in terms of economy for the next X amount of years.
Yeah.
So if you try to do that, US is going to put sanctions on you. They're going to do some stuff. They might drop bombs, maybe even if they don't drop. So now you're going to get cut out of the capital system that the US controls, right? 60% of the world is still using US as the reserve currency, right? It was 80% after World War II. It's gone to 60%. How long has it taken? It's taken like freaking 100 years almost, like 80 years, right? It's
Mhm.
dropping like, so it's not that. And the second best after that is the euro, and they're 20%. Nothing's even close
Yeah.
to taking over, right? So that's the next one, right? So India, China, they're not going to do it. And also, so basically, India came out and said, we're not going to do BRICS because we want to be partners with the US because they're going to have to cut it out, right?
Mhm.
So then they're going to get favorable treatment from the US. So they're already, BRICS is already like,
Yeah.
it's not
It's
making
all game theory at play.
so that's going to be difficult. So what I've realized is all of these things happening has a very less like effect on people for us. We're going to take a huge benefit because we happen to be in the US, right?
Yeah.
And US is number 1 right
Mhm.
now in 2025. So it's very difficult for somebody else to come close to us. I always give this example. Maybe it makes sense for you. So my family owns some land and real estate in India,
Mhm.
and we bought it in, let's say, 2020. Let's say 2000, because we bought it a long time ago, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the property in Indian rupees has gone up more than like 200%. So let's say we bought it for
Yeah.
$100, it's worth like 220. We're like,
But what about in dollars?
like killing it, right? But when we send money to India from here to
Mhm.
buy it, it was 40 rupees for $1. It's 90 right now. So my family's just like, we're killing it. And I'm like, yeah, we lost money. And they're like, what? I'm like, every year my family is losing about $100,000 or something crazy. Or not every year, sorry. Since 2020 to now, we've lost almost $250,000 in like buying power.
When you put it as dollars relative to Indian real estate.
Indian rupees.
Indian,
Because we got to bring the money back here,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we're already out $250,000 gone. It's gone. And it's like, it's not like we have like $50 million and we lost $250,000. It's like 0.5%, right? No, we only have like $1 million. So we already lost like 25%. So my family's trying to actively sell it. The reason I'm saying is because you're competing against the US dollar, and US dollar is the reserve currency, every other currency is going to fail all the time.
I think all the other currencies are going to fail first.
They're
I
going
think
to fail
we fail
first.
last.
And if you don't, we will bomb you and make you sure that you fail. Like that's just facts.
Yeah,
like
I
it's
mean,
going to happen.
It's
Right?
an unfortunate reality.
So it's an unfortunate reality, but we do live in the US, so we have these benefits. So what I've figured out is all of this long-winded way of saying is we are going to print money, guys. There's no other way around it. Every other country is printing money, and we are going to print money. We will just print less money compared to the next guy. So our dollar will always be worth more. So if I'm sitting in the US, I'm either going to buy Bitcoin or land or gold or silver or coins or houses or boats or something.
Real
right?
assets.
Real assets, not boats. Don't buy boats. But anything else, if you buy anything else, that compared to the US dollar, because we are going to print, I'm not saying Republican, Democrat, I don't care at all. It's zero. I don't even give a crap. Both of them will print money for sure because it's the easy thing to do when you have a money printer, right? And everybody else have to use it. You have to use it. If you don't use it, it will kill you.
Yeah, I mean,
That's crazy, bro.
That's
That's insane.
It is wild. It is wild. Another analogy that I would even like to add to your point.
Does it make sense?
It does make sense. And
Okay.
I agree with basically everything that you said.
Okay.
The another analogy that I would even put just to like stamp on it was another podcast that I listened to was talking about the game of Monopoly, right? You're familiar with the game of
I love
Monopoly?
Monopoly.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. You play it in real life.
Yeah.
And imagine you have a table set up with 2 boards of Monopoly, right? They're playing their games, they're taking their properties, right? Each one of those can represent their own countries. And then, so the bankers on each of those boards what if they could just make the executive decisions to be like, you know what if we can just print more of these and we buy the real estate the on the other board, just give us a little bit more. Let's buy the real estate over there.
Mhm.
And then the other board starts catching on and they're like, hey, these guys are buying our real estate. We should start printing some of ours so that we can buy some of theirs and get back some of ours. So it just becomes this race to the bottom
Mhm.
where it's just like everyone's printing against everyone to be able to procure those actual like real world assets.
Yeah.
And so I agree that we need shields to be able to insulate us from all of those things. Now, when you were talking about like the powers that be, is there anyone that's going to unseat the U.S.? I mean, I think the U.S. is we're going to be fine. A lot of us here are going to be fine. I think you read Ray Dalio's book. What was his latest one called?
I read both the books.
But
One
he
is
talks
the
about, like-
dead one. There's the one on dead, and then the other one is the world order.
Yeah, that's the
Changing
one.
World
That's
Order.
right. That's
Great
what I'm
book.
more referring to. Where he kind of goes more into the ascension of China, unseating the power.
He's very pro China.
Unseating the power of
Mhm.
the U.S.
He spent a lot of time there. That's why.
Yeah. My perspective on it is a little bit different. I'm not trying to say I'm like smarter than Ray Dalio. He's doing
Mhm.
just fine. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be. I would frame it differently. It's not going to be this country versus this country. I think that technology is going to start unseating some of these global government powers. So, for example, why doesn't the US let deflation happen? So let's just talk about it just from like really stupid terms. Like, why is deflation bad? Like, I want to be able to have a house. If you don't have a house, you want a house for cheaper, right? If you want to buy a new cell phone, you want the nicest cell phone for cheaper. I want this guitar for cheaper. So why can't we let deflation happen? And as you know, we live in a debt-based society. Like our money is based on debt. The US has so much debt. Over $30 trillion worth of debt.
36.
Having deflation on that much debt, that's a bad day.
That's a bad day.
Because those dollars that you owe are becoming more valuable. And so it becomes harder for you to be able to pay off that debt. You want that debt to be as cheap as possible so that you can just print away your debt, right?
That's correct.
So I think when I look at this, you have this interventionism, we'll call it.
Yeah, central banks.
Central banks printing money that goes against what I'll call the natural world order, the tendency of nature and humans and their innovation to be able to give more for less, right? We work at an engineering company. We make devices. I'm a process engineer, work in manufacturing. I try to figure out what
You are?
I try to figure out
I thought it was a
how I
model.
can reduce the cost of this product. Our company tries to be able to sell these products for less so that they can compete in a market that they feel that they're closed out from. So they want to be able to undercut their competitors. That's another reason why competition is good. You don't have a monopoly, right? But so I think that you have these competing forces of central banks versus the natural world order and human ingenuity and technology that are deflationary forces. I think the natural order is for deflation to occur. And so what do you think of that? I'll stop there for a minute.
I think you are right. The problem with your premise is we will have a lot more deaths and there'll be a lot more problems in society if you do that, because you're going to take away food stamps or something like that. Because how do you think we give them food stamps? Because we can print it and give it to them.
Yeah, no, this isn't necessary. Obviously, like being pro Bitcoin, I'm pro like scarce, finite money, Austrian economic style instead of Keynesian. But even within just this framework, I'm more talking less thinking about like the utopia idealistic vision and more talking about the reality of the
So
day
you're
that
saying
we're
no centrally controlled currency, and it's just very little printing. That's what you're saying, and we won't like kind of bail out the banks, or if there's a bad company, we're not going to give Apple $1 trillion to save the company. We just say, Apple, you suck. The market said you suck. Your iPhone is now $10,000. Nobody wants to buy it. You're bankrupt. Goodbye. Right?
Ultimately, that would be great not to have a centralized intermediary.
That's
that
the
owns
utopia
money.
you're proposing, right?
But really, the point that I was actually trying to drive was if I have these central banks that are really wanting to promote inflation, governments that want to promote inflation because they have an incredible amount of debt, and we have technology on the other side and the natural world order that's driving deflation just normally, I see technology as an exponential force. So you were talking about, will this happen in our lifetimes, yes or no? And you're talking about the projection of the past and trying to be able to infer that into the future. For me, I see it as a potentially exponential curve.
Sure.
Especially like you look at AI now and the productivity gains that are going to be coming from that. I think that we're going to be able to have more technological deflation in the future. And so I think banks and governments are going to have to combat that with money printing to keep inflation higher than to offset that deflationary force. And so if I expect that the deflationary force is going to be exponential, I think they're on the reciprocal side, the inflationary force is going to be reciprocal.
Yeah, so you think that
Or it's going to be
deflationary
exponential.
forces might trump money printing? Are you crazy, bro?
No,
There's no fucking way, bro.
Not
because imagine how
not
much
Trump.
fun US will have, and you said, hey, TVs are $10 now. They'll be like, cool. We're going to print $1 zillion a day.
Yes.
And they're
Exactly.
going to win hard.
But the consequence of printing $1 zillion a day is that we become the Zimbabwe, we become the Lebanon, we become these countries that have an abundance of monetary units, but have scarce assets, scarce goods, have empty
But see, you're
stores.
forgetting one major thing, right? So just for this fun argument, we will say a Bitcoin versus US dollar or something like that, right? Just to
Sure.
keep it interesting. The main problem with that argument is, I mean, Bitcoin versus US dollar. Bitcoin is going to win in the long term because it's one is inflated and the one that you can't print. Like that's the easy way, right?
Yeah.
But what I want to talk about is the printing ourselves to death thing is not quite possible right now because we have like forces like Jerome Powell. They don't have to listen to anybody. They don't care. They will just be like, no, inflation's high. No more. Trump can be like, oh, do this. They'll be like, no, sorry, I don't have to do it. So they can just do that, right? The other thing you forgot, the main thing is, so we have like a trade deficit and stuff like that, right? And then but so what does that mean? So we buy apples from, let's say, I don't know, Zimbabwe, right?
Yeah.
What are we giving them back for the apples?
What's that? Security?
No, we gave them fake paper.
Well, yeah, we traded for the asset. You're saying, yeah.
So we got apples and we gave them dollar. And what is Zimbabwe going to do with the dollar?
Save it, spend it on their
They
own
have to
assets?
spend the dollar. And
Yeah.
where will they spend the dollar? They have to use it somewhere, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can't. So we've created a world where everybody has to use the dollar.
Yeah.
There is no out. You cannot not
Yeah.
use the dollar. You
I
have to use it. If you don't use it, we'll kill you.
I agree. So you're talking about the proportion of demand of
Yeah.
like associated with the dollar.
Any
And,
trade
like,
that's happening, right? We're
we've-
always using dollars. So it's very difficult. My point is to say that it's very difficult to inflate our way to nothing because the other countries will do that first.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this now.
Yeah.
An expert move by the US, right, was
The Bretton
controlling
Woods.
oil,
Yeah.
right? And denominating that in dollars.
Yeah.
Basically saying,
Security for dollars.
yeah,
And
security
how many
for
attacks have
security
you
for oil.
seen on Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
None.
And so oil here I would use as a proxy for energy, right?
Yeah, sure.
So it's what we like use to kind of like power our society. And so
Sure.
we said this is a absolute critical asset. We want anyone that is trading in this asset, buying this asset, to be able to own dollars so that we can essentially tether this abstract monetary instrument to a real world asset that is oil.
Yeah.
So that was a way for them to be able to continue to drive demand for those dollars. I think the area, where it breaks down is that because the entire system is predicated on centralized authorities, individual groups, and ultimately just people making decisions, you'll have something where you'll have breaches of trust where I thought our agreement was going to be X and now you've done Y. I thought I could trade in my gold or trade in my dollars and redeem back my gold. That's no longer the case. I thought that I could use the dollar to be able to make these trades, but now you've frozen me outside of the SWIFT system. So that's no longer the case.
That's true.
I think those types of things start to break down trust in the dollar, in that monetary instrument. And once you have a break in trust and are introduced to a potential alternative, what just prevents that alternative from becoming a black hole and just sucking out all of the life from that instrument? And that's, I think, what results in hyperinflation.
Yeah, I mean that's possible, but I mean in that same scenario, we could also change our ways too. We don't have to be crazy and be telling everybody, we could just be like, hey, we're not going to be as involved in the world affairs and stuff like that. So it could be more that way too. Because think about it, I mean, we provide the world with so much, literally US invented internet, like what?
I think
Crazy. Cars, planes,
yeah.
like what?
And I would an area where I would agree with you there is I would say, and other people have echoed this as well, one of the biggest risks to Bitcoin in terms of like its future is responsible monetary policy. Like if you have responsible monetary policy,
Let me tell you right here, you don't have to worry about it. There's no chance.
That's what I'm saying.
There's no
but
chance.
that's what your earlier point was, at least how I took it, was we could be less crazy. Jerome Powell could be a more responsible human being or could make the right decision. I think we've just gone too far.
No, sorry. I think we misunderstood. What I am saying is we are more responsible than all the other countries.
Absolutely.
But
100%.
not, you can't compare to Bitcoin. You can't print Bitcoin, bro.
Are you?
It's only going to go up.
What's that theory? What's it called? Dollar milkshake theory?
Yeah, dollar milkshake theory.
Am I understanding it right? That it's basically like all the other currencies are just going to melt into the dollar?
Something like that. I forget. He comes on all the real
see it
estate
like
podcasts
that.
all the time.
I think like just to even break into like the crypto a little bit. One of the other use cases of crypto is stable coins. You're familiar with stable coins, right?
Yeah, like
It's
USDT.
it's just like pegged to the dollar, right?
Mhm.
So that it's like constantly stable. You don't have to worry about the crazy volatility of Bitcoin, that type of thing. I think those are also a pretty crazy monetary technology, like level up, power up for the US dollar. Because imagine if that just became unleashed and is now a vehicle that everyone in the world can be able to save in. Now it's like, why would I even hold Zimbabwe dollars if I can just get these tethers on my phone that easily? Or I only want you to pay me in US dollars. I only want you to pay me in this quick token that I can send and is super liquid and is 24/7 tradable and all of those things. So the way that I think that you're right, I think all these other currencies will fail. I think everyone will start transferring all of their energy into the dollar. And I think that stable coins can be that vehicle to help grow essentially the demand for the dollar. And I think that's going to be a prerequisite before the dollar fails. Like I think all of that happens before the dollar fails.
Yeah, I think, I don't think we're going to see the dollar fail at all. Like I said, you were talking about China.
So you see it as an eventuality, but you just don't see it within our lifetime.
But it's not even an eventuality. It's like, it's number 2, bro. It's like, what? Like the worst case scenario is number 2? Like, okay, where is everybody else? There's nobody else.
Oh, I see.
Like, so, like, for example, if we went from 60% to, let's say, everything went to crap and it was 40%. Who else has more than 40%? No one has more than 40% of the trading currencies and stuff, reserve currency, I mean. So it's like not possible. But China could be number 1. I agree. It could be.
I hope not.
They have the worst immigration policy of all time. We don't even know what's going on. All the young people, unemployment is 25%.
Let me, if I could maybe reframe, like you said, even if it's like worst case, we're number 2. To me, number 2 in a complete fiat system where everyone has printed to oblivion, but we printed less than number 3, but we printed more than number 1. I think that is still a really poor world overall. I think that what I'm talking about is like, what is the eventual, how do we get to the next Kardashev scale? Are you familiar with the Kardashev scale? Oh man, this is gonna be another thing that I butchered. I probably butchered so many things so far, but ultimately, like the Kardashev scale is this increment of how much energy your system can harness. And so right now we harness what amount of percent from the sun. The sun is beaming down on us. We have all this solar energy. It's growing all of our plants, all of these things. How can we be able to create this this system that captures all of that energy and has no waste so that we can have all of the energy that's consumed from that star and so that we can elevate all of society.
Okay, sounds cool.
Right? And then the next one would be like, all right, well, that's how we can be able to like scale it just from that solar system. But then there's multiple solar systems. Can we harness multiple stars? And then the scale just like keeps going up and it's like really radical and crazy and all that type of stuff. But I say all of that to mean the future that I want isn't to be everyone's poor and we're just second place at being poor. I want everyone to have a material amount of wealth where they have an abundance of everything around them, right? And I think technology helps us to be able to get there. AI helps us to be able to get there. Silicone chips help us to be able to get there. Improved manufacturing methods help us to be able to get there so that we can produce more goods with less effort, so that people don't have to worry about going hungry. People don't have to worry about having roofs over their heads. I want
But
a more
that's
prosperous future, right? And I
okay.
don't mean that in like the sense of like just utopic dreamland. I understand that that's everywhere we live is flawed to some degree. But I worry that if we all print ourselves to oblivion, and even if we're in second place or even if we're in first place and we printed ourselves to oblivion, that may be worse than where we're at today. And I just don't want to, that's not the world I want to live in.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. Number one is it's kind of you're saying the same thing in a different way as printing money. You want everybody to be prosperous. It's not going to work, bro. It's not how it's going to work. Half the world will always be poor and they will need help. It's not. It's never going to be because
Yeah.
because for example, it's like otherwise I would have just gone to some communist country,
No,
right?
no, no. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you
So
there.
for
That's not
me,
where I want to go.
like for example, you're smart. You're smarter than me in terms of like
Definitely not.
a lot of things in like coding and stuff like that. So I shouldn't be paid the same for doing coding, for example, right?
Totally agree on a meritocratic
Yeah, yeah.
lifestyle. Like I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you that there is absolutely like even like this hopeful vision that I have where there's more abundance of everything. I don't mean that to say everyone is equal and we all
Sure.
have the
Okay.
same
But you
things.
just want the lowest to
I
come
want
up
to
a little
raise
bit.
the tide for all
Okay.
boats.
Yes, that's fair. I mean, who doesn't want that? The other thing is, what was,
Lifestyles have improved over time,
yeah,
right?
we're
Like we
definitely living better
like
than.
we're doing better than the
I mean,
cavemen.
the poor people have cell phones. Like they have cars. Like
Yeah.
I mean, my maid has a better car than me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
she has your car, bro. RAV4.
that's
She's
a good
winning
one.
in
I
life
love it.
for sure,
Yeah.
right? That's one. The other, what was the other thing we were talking about?
It's more just like I'm concerned about printing ourselves into oblivion. I don't want us to see ourselves go backwards. I want technology to
Oh,
rise the tide of all boats. That's really where I want to go.
okay, I got that. So the other thing I wanted to say, this is very common in real estate. It's like, for example, it's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go create a new city, and that's going to be the best city
I've
of
seen that.
all cities. And then you're like, you are a fucking idiot. Like, no, go to the best city already, and then just work around it or work with it, right?
Mhm.
So you're talking about a new city, a new plan, right? I'm saying I found the best city. It's called the USA. And if you've seen the tanks, that's it. Like this is the best one. And I'm going to play whatever game they're playing on a much, much smaller level. Because the game I am playing, I'll tell you the game, right? I'm playing is I have $7 million of debt,
Yeah.
right? The US has $36 trillion of debt. And my debt is fixed. I have 100% fixed debt. I don't even have
My man.
1%, like, oh, maybe. No, it's all fixed. There's no prepay. I'm good to go. Now, what happens if I can refinance it in a percent, right?
Yeah, you're gonna
It-
be
it-
crushing
I'm
it.
going to be crushing it. If I
Absolutely.
refinance 2%, I make more than I make in a year working.
Legend.
That's crazy. But that's not why I want to bring it up.
Mhm.
The why I wanted to bring it up is I have debt because I figured out US has debt, and US will do anything to
Yes.
keep the debt, and we will kill everybody on planet Earth if they try to do something and try to do deflation. We'll just kill them. Like literally, we'll be like, "Oh, you think you don't like the dollar? Oh, cool. Like you're dead." Like literally like that. So I just figured out, okay, listen, I'm not going to fight the number one country in the world for the last 100 years and come up with some new strategy and be like, this could be better. Could be better. I don't know. But if I just did that same stuff, what they're doing and what they're incentivizing us to do, it's very impossible for me to fail. We should have a nuclear war with like Russia and China tomorrow. That's the only time I could fail.
So you brought up
Right? That
you
doesn't
brought
make
up
sense.
like war and bombs multiple
Sure.
times, and
You don't like war and bombs?
I I agree that there is a direct link and association with fiat currencies, the ability to be able to print money and war. I think that governments can be able to fund themselves, fund war by being able to print money, right? They
Bro,
have
but
that
that's like
ability. So
that's
like think
yeah, okay,
about
go
it though.
for it.
Like what was it before, right? Before they would have to have war bonds. They would have to go to the public and say that if you guys want us to go to war with those bad guys over there, you guys need to be able to subscribe to these bonds. we'll give you some level of return on these bonds because you're giving us this capital investment. You're putting your money at risk, but you need to subscribe to these bonds. And what happened is nobody really subscribed to those bonds, not enough to be able to fund a war. And so they're like, all right, we're just going to end up printing this money to be able to fund the war we want so that we can push the agendas that we want. And so I think that money printing, fiat systems do perpetuate violence and war.
Okay, you ready for this? I'll tell you why this is the dumbest argument of all time.
Hell yeah.
You ready? We are living in the most safest time in the history of mankind. Literally. Like if you do like percent wars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There has never been a safer time to be alive.
I agree that will continue to be the trend.
It'll continue to be the trend. So I'm saying all these war bonds and stuff doesn't really matter because men love to kill things. Either it's lions or like humans or like just males. We just like to kill things. So we're going to find a way to do it. People like to blame religion. People like to blame countries. We would just find out something and be like, I don't like red noses. You're dead now. I'm just going to kill you, right? So there's always going to be something. So I don't think it's very smart to assign like US dollars is what is going to, start this war. Right now it is, but if you change it, it will be Bitcoin. We'll go to war because we found out there's a cold wallet in Beijing. Beijing is invading now. It's done, right? It will happen for sure.
I think battles, like you said, and conflict are
low, right?
It's trending lower, and that, how do I say this? I think that they'll continue to exist, right?
For sure.
What I'm talking about is reducing the scale of those conflicts, and so when you look at right now,
it's easy to go to war. Is that what you're saying? You don't even have to ask for proof.
You don't.
Like, you just be like, we just print it and go.
We don't vote on war. We don't they don't have to like tax us for war. They just print to go to war. And that threshold is very easy. That's point number one.
Yeah.
Now, your larger point of we're trending lower and battle will continue regardless of whatever paradigm that we're in. When I look at that and I think about the projection of power, and when you look at like a pack of wolves or something like that, I don't know, some beast species, like how do they ascertain who is the leader of this group? What is the pecking order? Who eats first? Who eats last?
Biggest, strongest.
It's the biggest and strongest, and then the weakest eats last, right? So it is a power projection game.
That's the natural order you wanted earlier.
And so it is nature. I agree with you 100%. It is absolutely nature. And so when we look at the power projection game and you extrapolate that from wolves and beasts all the way to the sovereign level, right? It's still a power projection game. Who has the biggest stick? They'll control the world.
I mean, that's reality, right?
That is
a problem with it. What, you have a problem with that? Or what's the deal?
No, I'm saying that I guess I'm elaborating on the reality of it.
Okay.
I'm expanding on it. And so the person with the biggest stick is eventually going to be able to control the world. But we're starting to get to this point of where we have a mutually assured destruction with nuclear warfare.
Weapons. Yes, that's true.
And so that's also like plays into the piece a little bit because no one wants to press the big red button because someone else will see that you press the big red button and press their own, right? And now that's where you get mutually assured destruction. And so now we've kind of plateaued on this, I'll call it kinetic energy power projection, right? Who has the biggest stick in the game? And so where are the other areas that we can be able to project power so that we can assert our dominance and say that we are the ones that are going to be first in the pecking order? We get to determine what is the resource allocation we should be able to choose first. How do you have a bigger stick, or how do you continue to increase the size of the stick when you've gone to that level that you can already destroy the world? And so in like some of the wars that we have, like Ukraine and things like that, they've still have gone back to troops on the ground, tanks, that type of thing to be able to have that, even though we already have nukes. So it's interesting that it reverts back to that to be able to have that dynamic. But another paradigm I think can exist where power projection can be done instead of kinetic force of punching your friend in the face can be power projection in watts of energy, and that's in mining Bitcoin. That is your like energy that you're expending to be able to put that into your monetary energy, and that's another layer of influence. And so that's the distinction that I would make, and the path that I see that is a little bit more peaceful. Battles will always exist. You like
I mean, you're talking about like more economic policies. That's why we have
Yes.
sanctions. We don't kill people for fun. We just say, hey, don't buy from them because they're, I don't know, child trafficking the whole country or something like that, right?
I think
Does that make sense?
yeah. There's always these things that we do to be able to manipulate the nations around us to be able to give us more favorable treatment. But ultimately, it's always behind this veil of if you don't do it, we have a really big stick, or we can make your lives really bad, right? And a lot of that now,
So
there's the kinetic power of warfare, but then there's also the economic power of the dollar, right? And I think
It's a double system. It's very hard to combat that. It's just it's not going to work for you. Like I know people listening, they're probably thinking these guys are freaking
we're getting nuts for sure.
warmongers. But here's the thing, right? Like I learned this from my dad, right? And I think it has a lot of merit to it. It's like for example, India has nuclear weapons. It has like hundreds and hundreds of nuclear weapons, but it also has a policy. I forgot the name for it. We will never drop a nuclear bomb on you first. You drop a bomb, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, so guess what? Nobody wants to drop a bomb, right? So I'm not saying we should drop nuclear bomb, right? But if I'm a country, I'm going to have 10 million nuclear bombs because you're not going to want to just mess with me. It's the same like if you're, you know martial arts, right?
I've gone to jiu-jitsu
You
a
got
little
to
bit, but I'm
jiu-jitsu
not
stuff,
very
right?
good. Yeah.
You're not going to fight people. You're already like,
You're not, no.
but if somebody's going to steal your baby, that guy's dead.
Yeah,
Like
you
you're gonna do something, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, people will just know. I don't want to mess with Clayton. He's going to knock me out, right? I just don't want to do it. But he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
That's the great position to be in as a country, as a civilization, as like different things. I don't want U.S. to go and bomb Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, agreed.
That's not a good move. We shouldn't be doing that. However, if you're not going to, do like certain things, we can bomb you, which makes it puts you in a very different position, right? I mean, think about it, dude. Nobody has even tried to invade US. They're not even attempting to do it. You can't even do it. So because of that, we're put in a very strategic position so we can spend the time on like economic research and like all the developments that we have, right? I mean, that's like a lot of benefit. That's why like I don't understand when people are like, we shouldn't be spending money on the national military budget. I'm like, you're just sitting here like having the best time of your life in a freaking island country, just nobody can even touch you, and you don't want guns. You think what will happen if you don't have guns? India will be here tomorrow morning. Yeah, you better learn Hindi.
It's a proxy for the security of citizens.
For sure.
Right? And so they just need to keep increasing the size of the stick because everyone else is trying to increase the size of their stick. And they need to make sure that theirs is the biggest to be able to protect their citizenry within their borders. Yeah. Right.
So how does this help anybody who's listening, bro? How do they listen to this and be like, all right, we kind of saw the dollar where it's going. I am like clearly very pro US, and regardless of the administration, I don't care. I just feel like it's in a different path than everybody else, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And the only country that has free speech. Like what? Yeah, you can't even do this.
Very important.
It's very crazy. So we have the dollar going a certain way, and it's leading in. I am just educating people instead of like. I mean, just take us, for example, right? We could have just said, oh, it's a pandemic. It's crazy. I can't do anything. My life sucks. And, there's a...
Victim mentality,
right? I don't like that.
No,
I just don't like that.
Yeah, that's
so
a
you
trap.
went Bitcoin. You're doing stuff. I'm doing whatever the crap I'm doing, right? But I want people listening to listen to this conversation and be like, okay, there's always something going on in the world. There's always a war. There's always something going on. Mm-hmm. You just have to figure out a way to get in the game. That's the same concept. It's like when you live in your house in Orange County, so cool for you to think that, oh, really? What happened when I had 30 houses in Bakersfield and everybody was literally spitting on my face? They're like, you're an idiot. Literally everybody I know, right?
Yeah.
And then I buy this house and they're like, oh, must be nice. Must be nice.
Yeah.
Did you come to me to paint for like every day? You know, so I'm just saying,
They don't see the hard work.
you don't-
It
they
seems
don't
like
see
an
the hard
overnight
work.
sensation.
right? If you just happen to have like 10 Bitcoin, like they'll be like, oh, must be nice. Did somebody give you 10 Bitcoin? You're
Yeah.
buying like $20 for
When
every.
everyone's laughing at my face.
Everyone's
Everyone's
laughing at your
ostracized
face.
from society. My friends think I'm retarded. My family
Yeah, like literally.
excommunicated me. Yeah,
It's crazy. But I do want you to diversify.
crazy.
Now, before we.
So
yeah.
actually, on the diversification point, diversification is a way for you to be able to preserve your wealth. I don't think it's a way for you to be able to gain wealth.
100% agree.
Concentration is the way
100%
that you
agree.
get wealth. If you're already wealthy and you're worried about losing it, by all means diversify. But really, the way that wealth is made, from what I've listened to from people that have generated it, it seems that concentration of your energy into a singular focus and effort is how that wealth was generated.
That is true. I agree 100%. No rebuttals on that. Now, before we go, what's going on with your 401k?
Oh, here we go, dude.
Here we go. Let's
You
break
say-
it down for people, guys. Just to give a background,
give
I
them
want
background.
people to comment, send me questions, be like, "What the hell's wrong with
This
this guy?"
guy's
Right?
crazy. Gonna
All right, guys.
discredit me right away.
Right away, it's done. Basic. We're gonna break it down so people understand, and they can write in and be like, "Yeah, you're crazy, Vince." Are you right? So our company matches 2% if you put 4% in. So if you make $100, you put $4 in, we get $2, right? Everybody get that, right? Everybody gets it.
Yeah.
401k is a scam, blah, 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 whatever. The stock doesn't go up, goes down. But if you put $4 in, you get $2. That's 100% guarantee. That's a 50% return on your money every year. I'll take it one step further. Clayton doesn't do that, right? But that's not the one step further. It's worse. He's married. You guys ready for it? His wife puts in 8%. Please give us an answer. Why are you being a moron?
I'm just not a bright individual. But also, it's hard to convince your wife to do things.
She's
you're
already
married-
doing it.
When you're married, it's
No,
you'll
I'm
learn
saying
these
she's
things.
already doing the 8%.
Oh, no. I wasn't saying to convince her to give me 4%.
Yeah.
I was saying to convince her to go to 0% and go all in on Bitcoin.
Oh, you're going the other way, huh? That's crazy.
So why don't I invest in 401k?
Because I know Bitcoin is not doing 50% a year, bro. And
Here's-
we're not talking about putting in 80 grand. Put in 10 grand.
Why? Okay, here's why I don't invest in 401k for me.
Yeah.
401k, you even alluded to it. 401k is a scam, but you're not even highlighting that. You're just highlighting the
The
company
ridiculousness
match.
of Clayton Lemons.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're talking about the company match. All right, why is 401k a scam? You want to take that one or you want me to take that one? So
You take it. You're
all
the
right.
guest.
401k, the way that I look at it, it's pre-tax dollars, and then I get taxed at the end of it. So I gotta wait an obscene amount of time to be able to get those dollars. As you've already heard for the majority of this conversation, I'm not very bullish on the dollar itself, not very bullish on stocks. Another detail is our 401k that is provided by our company. I can't choose whatever ticker I want. I get like 10 things that I can choose from.
But we have pretty good ones.
Not really. The ones that we can choose from are basically like
S&P 500.
blue chip. So we'll just say S&P 500. It's basically S&P 500 or a blend of these things that are called target date funds
Sure, yeah.
or just bonds.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about how bonds just suck.
Sure.
You're not going to be able to beat inflation over the time that I'm going to have my 401k. Why would I have a blend of the thing that sucks? So now I'm just going to go straight to S&P 500, which is when I did invest in my 401k, is the only thing I ever invested in my 401k. And that was just because it was the best option within the 10 options. 9 of them sucked. I chose that one. Now, why don't I do it now? So
We're
for
doing
me-
101. We're just talking about the 4.
Yeah. So the reason why I don't even contribute to my 401k anymore is really just because as a capital allocator, I have money from my job that I can choose to be able to put in one bucket or another.
Sure.
I have to be able to make a decision what is going to be able to give me the greatest, essentially like risk premium, right? So you're saying if I put it into the 401k bucket, I get a 50% return.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed every year
Till you die.
until I retire.
Assuming zero growth.
Well, I'm at the company.
Yeah. Well, you could take it out. I mean, you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's break down that 50%. That 50% is eaten partially by inflation.
Sure.
So that's the initial hurdle, right? The next thing that gets eaten
Well,
by...
get rid of the inflation because the growth of the stocks will easily match the
Sure.
inflation. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no inflation. You can't do that crap.
To a degree. Yeah,
To a
to a
degree.
degree. Yeah, you're right. It will, to a degree, be a wash. That was what I said earlier, right? S&P,
Yeah,
I thought, was
sure.
a wash to inflation. So you're absolutely right. That is true. Now, the other bucket that I have also has historically a pretty nice compounded annual growth rate. And so I've just decided that I would like to be, I put a premium on my access to money in the current time and being able to put that into the Bitcoin bucket as opposed to investing it in my 401k bucket that is 20, 30 years down the line that I get access to, taxed and not distributed all entirely. There's rules on how much I can be able to take out at a given time. It's distributed to me on at a certain allocation on a monthly basis, whatever else, right? And so all of these restrictions and rules have essentially, in my mind, applied like a negative factor against that, and that's what's made me averse to putting it into the 401k. Now, if I were to compare Roth IRAs, much more superior.
We have Roth 401k.
We do have Roth 401k. And if I were to ever contribute, I would put definitely into the Roth because, again, if I'm just going to go ahead and tax myself right now, I'll put it into my Roth and I'm not going to be taxed on the gains that I make in the future. I would love for my Roth to be able to have more variety as opposed to like, here are 10 things that you're permitted to be able to invest in. Essentially, what it boils down to is I just felt that there were too many restrictions on what I could be able to do with my energy, right? They were like, you can only redeem this 30 years from now. We can only distribute it to you and not lump sum, only on like a monthly basis when you retire. And then you're only going to be able to put it within these 10 buckets. Like all of these respective restrictions on what I could be able to do with my capital is something that turned me off to it entirely.
Well, partly what you said is true, but let's break down the facts, right? You could have put 100,000 into your thing, take out 50K, no tax, no penalty,
Loan,
and then buy Bitcoin with it.
That's
a win for sure.
I've taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't have bought this house without it.
Yeah, I did invest in my 401k
Before, I remember.
for a long period of
sure.
time. And so I did already have an amount in there. I've been working for over 10 years. And so I did already have an amount in there, and I've only gotten into Bitcoin in like the past 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was already an amount in there. I did have a crisis at my home.
It helped you.
And it helped me. And so
No penalty.
And no penalty, other than I have to pay interest on that, but it's back to myself. That's the benefit.
Yeah.
And I've even advocated for this to other people at our work that have confided in me that they have a financial struggle, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they have a kid.
That was me.
Maybe they have a kid and they're struggling, and they have people that are relying on them for support. And they're like, I need to figure out how I can get money. I'm like, dude, please do not go into credit card debt. Like, if you have been contributing to your 401k, this is something that's afforded to you. It is a core benefit of the 401k to be able to take a loan out against it that is tax free, and I think that's absolutely a benefit. That
Since you
people
can
should
leverage
redeem.
at least 50 grand,
Yeah.
that's at least
If you have
something.
100, yeah.
If you
So
have
it's
100.
50 max and then half otherwise.
Half of what
right?
you have.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you can take out your money if you move companies and put it into a self-directed
Yes.
IRA and then buy Bitcoin with it.
Yes.
That's already allowed.
Yes.
So that's another win.
Yeah.
And if you wait till you're 15 and a half, there's no penalty.
Right.
You can do that too. That's another win.
Totally agree. Our
Yeah.
job treats us pretty well, so
Yeah.
we're staying there. So I haven't been looking to quit.
Yeah, me too. Definitely, I would say the biggest scam with the 401k, you didn't touch on it. You probably know it. Is it's not capital gains, it's earned income. When you take it out after 40 years that you gave somebody your money,
Yeah.
not capital gains,
Yeah.
full tax.
Yeah, the tax that you're
So
treated on
that's
is
crazy.
worse even. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I did
But
forget
however,
that point.
I agree with you on the Roth though. That's a win for sure.
Yeah, if you're gonna have a tax advantaged account, I think
Yeah.
you go for a Roth. The other thing, so like Roth 401k versus the Roth IRA. I mean, there's people that are, you could probably speak to this way better than I can, but one of the things that when I did have a Roth, one of the things that I did really like about that is the amount that you put in, you can also
Yeah.
be able to take back out, and there's not a penalty associated with that. So I did really like that. Obviously, anything that you have on gains, that is going to be subject to taxes. But your contributions to it, being able to take that out, I thought that was huge, and it's just not a benefit that you're afforded with the 401k that I feel like is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's how they got around the pension stuff, right?
Yeah,
Cool, man. Do you think there's any other topic that you want to talk about?
dude, we covered a lot. How long have we been going?
Probably like 145.
That was fun,
That's
dude.
good. Yeah.
That was a long
Do
conversation.
you have any questions for me?
I mean, I talk to you all the time. I get a sense of how your real estate has been treating you. I think one of the things that I really appreciate about what you do is that you you look to actually be really inclusive in all of the activities that you have. You try to be able to give people around you some great opportunities,
Yeah.
and you try to be able to give them the best deals on real estate that you have coming up. And now
Sure.
you've like built yourself this like nice network of people that are around you that believe in the mission that you're building, that
Yeah.
believe in you as like a capital allocator, essentially, dude. You're
Yeah, for
like
sure.
directing people's financial futures. And so I applaud you for it, man. I mean, you've helped out friends that we have at our company,
Stevie D.
Stevie D,
Yeah.
to be able to get him into real estate, maybe when it would have been challenging for him to do a loan, you know, just by himself being able to buy out a property. But now he has exposure to multiple doors with you.
Steve owns like a couple $1 million of real estate.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
That's absolutely massive. And so kudos to you, man. You've
Yeah.
been crushing it. What do you feel like with this, now that you have the perspective of, like you said, you're at Bakersfield, you were painting houses, you've had squatters, you've had all of like, you've essentially endured a lot of the risks of real estate,
Sure.
and you're still a massive advocate of
Yeah.
real estate.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel like has been the hardest to endure? Like, what was the hardest point that you had to be able to go through to be able to like get to a point that you are today?
There's a couple of things come to my mind. Is one, I thought I was really smart. I had like a lot of ego about like I'm an engineer. I have all these patents. I'm the smartest guy ever. And then I figured out like, wait a minute, money and currency and what's going on? Like we don't own anything. It's just somebody else. And then I was like,
That was a crazy realization.
I was
right?
like, I was
went through
freaking
the
out
same
for like
thing, dude.
like
It's
6
wild.
months,
Yeah,
like every
same.
day, like what? After I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I did the same thing. I didn't learn nothing from it. I'm just like, oh, I go to real estate. I'm super smart. I'm just do all these things. I read like all the books, which was available in 2018, and then made one small mistake that I forgot. There's humans involved in this deal, and then they have to pay me to make this thing. And then I got
You
totally
didn't think
screwed
that
up.
your renters wouldn't pay?
Yeah, I just didn't. I just like,
These
no, that
guys.
doesn't happen to me.
They're-
That's
yeah.
happening to some losers.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I got like hit pretty hard, so I had to cover a lot of stuff. Those things, you don't know, and experience. I wouldn't go into like really bad neighborhoods and stuff like that. But I always tell people, you got to work for your value. The
Yeah.
only reason, if I am, let's say, richer than the homeless guy down the street, it's because I bring more value to the world than the homeless guy. And the only reason Grant Cardone is more richer than me is because he brings way more value
Yeah.
than me to the world. So he's more valuable. So you have to bring something to the table to get successful. I mean, we were talking about it here yesterday with Trash Panda, my roommate.
Yeah.
Drew was talking about how it's a lot of work to do the management and stuff like that for the company, right? And I was like, yeah, it's true. But you also don't have to do any of it and be poor.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking you to do anything.
It's a
right?
choice,
It's
ultimately.
like, you know,
Yeah.
Steve doesn't have to give me money,
Mhm.
but you can be poor. Like, I don't care. Like, be poor, right? Somebody's got to bring some value. So as long as, you know, you understand that and you bring that to the table, I think that's like really useful for people to understand, because people just think like, you know, what's the craziest realization for me
What's that?
is when I was like a poor immigrant, a lot of people like supported and like wanted me to succeed. And as I became successful, I can tell that they want me to die. Like they just don't care. Like they don't, because they can't really associate with me anymore.
Mhm.
And so now they want to find like things, problems, and like, oh, you just got it easy.
You think
Got it.
envy got the best of them?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm
Yeah.
like like I had nothing going for me. People literally trying to deport me every year for like 10 years, 20 years straight, right? I still don't have a citizenship. I have a green card, but I'm just saying like, so it's like, you know, if you're successful and you're trying to come up, people will want to support you. But then if you do come up, they don't like
They
you
want to cut
anymore.
you back down.
Because it makes them feel bad, I think.
No, I agree.
That's a really sad realization.
I've heard it being like someone else's success is a mirror to your own failures. You
Yeah.
know, and you don't want to be shown that.
I noticed that first from Rocky 2 or Rocky 3.
The movie?
Yes, because when he was like an underdog,
Yeah.
everybody liked him, and then when he becomes like actually good at it, they were like, "No, we
Look at
don't
that,
like
life
you anymore."
lessons.
It's crazy, dude. Rocky 3, guys.
Gotta
with,
watch it.
with Mr. T.
He's in there too.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
the
think I've
villain.
ever watched it. I gotta watch
Come
it.
on,
It's a
dude.
classic.
That's the classic movie. All right, man. That's it. Anything else?
Nah, I don't think so. I think hopefully we just made people think. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to advocate, you know, put all your money into Bitcoin. I'm not trying to say that my asset's necessarily better than yours. I think
I'm
I just
definitely
wanted
saying
to I just want people to think a little bit more differently about money, how it works. What is it? Like, what is money? I want people to ask themselves that question. It's not really a question that I asked myself until I was like 30, you know?
Yeah, me too, dude. 32.
Like, what is
for
money?
me.
That's a crazy
You got 2 years
question.
on me then.
So it's, but I mean, it was circumstances that did that, right? Like, to me, what happened was I think we asked ourselves that question at the same time because money was changing so radically in front of us with COVID, printing, stimulus checks, all that stuff. And so I think that was maybe a catalyst for our pursuit of knowledge. So I just want people to think more critically about that and calculate their own inflation. Don't just take CPI at face value.
That's true. Clayton Lemons said it first. Here.
That's right. Thanks for having me, man. This was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I don't
Yeah.
get to talk about
Thanks,
this stuff all
guys.
the time.
Yeah. See, we'll do a part 2 next year to see how
Oh.
Bitcoin is doing.
There you go.
Yeah. See you guys.
I don't know about you, but I definitely like to see 5-star reviews on any service or any product before I purchase. Please take a second to leave us a 5-star review, whether you're listening to it on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, or whatever platform. Take a second, goes a long way, helps us a lot to grow the channel, and thanks for listening.